Today is Bob Davis, our general manager, and Courtney Oliveira, our assistant treasurer. And my name is Mark Rosum. I am the treasurer comptroller for the Steamship Authority. Sean Driscoll is the Steamship Authority logo today, and he is running the Zoom meeting.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
All right.
And you can go right to slide 2.
Okay.
Okay, so the baseline for the 2022 operating budget for revenues is actual traffic statistics for the year end August 31st, 2021. So that means for the time period of September 30th, 2020 through August 31st, 2021 are what we're basing the revenue on, those traffic patterns. We have made adjustments to those traffic numbers to reflect the current traffic patterns that we're seeing right now. And we'll go over that when we go over the revenue section of the presentation. At the end of the day, we are not advocating for any rate adjustments for the 2022 budget. Okay, so what we're looking at is operating revenues of 123.7 million, which is up 2.1% from the 2021 budget. Looking at operating expenses of 119,650,000, which is up 6.2%. Other income of 8.6 million, other expenses of 3.5 million. Putting this all together, we're projecting a net income from operations of 9.1 million for the 2022 budget. And Courtney will go through the operating expenses.
Okay, this slide is showing the largest operating expense changes between the 2022 budget and the 2021 budget. First, we have vessel fuel oil up almost 2.18 million or 36.5% versus the previous year. We are budgeting $1.81 to $2.49 per gallon in 2022 compared to last year's. We budgeted $1.75 to $1.88 per gallon. Currently, we are hedged through the third quarter of 2022. Payroll is up 2.1 million. This is based on the operating schedule and the current budgeted level of employees. Next, we have pension and benefits up just over $1 million. This is partially due to the unemployment expense increase of 450,000. The unemployment rate has changed from 1.8% in 2021 to 2.8% in 2022. An increase of 56%. Maintenance expense is up $621,000, and we have more details on the next slide. These are the two categories that are the main drivers of the maintenance expense increase. We will be dry docking 5 vessels next year for a total of just over 5 million, a cost increase of 258,000 over last year. We also have terminal, dolphin, and dock repairs. Almost 3.7 million has been budgeted for projects that include dock repairs in Vineyard Haven, slip work in Hyannis, HVAC work in Vineyard Haven, tents in Nantucket for the passenger area, and pier decking in Oak Bluffs. The 2022 expense is $81,000 higher than the 2021 budget, an increase of 2.2%.
So for the operating revenue projections, parking revenue, we're expecting to increase by 115,000 or 1.9%. Freight revenue projecting an increase of 1.7 million or just right around 1%. Automobile revenue projecting an increase of just under 1.4 million or 0.3%. And passenger revenue projecting a decrease of about 445,000 or 1.5%. And we made some adjustments on the budget based on the current traffic patterns to the passenger revenue and the automobile revenue during the months of September through February. So in the months of September through December, we actually decreased the projections for the standard fare autos and increased the projections on the excursion fares. When we're seeing that trend kind of carry out in the first 3 weeks of 2021 September. On this slide, it's illustrating where the revenue is coming from, where you can see the main three categories of automobiles, freight, and passengers. And in that freight category, it does include both the freight trucks as well as the under 20-foot pickup trucks. Then it also shows the parking revenue, grants, terminal operations, miscellaneous rent, and bicycle miscellaneous and voyage. This slide illustrates which months we make money and which months we lose money. So you can see January through April, we operated a deficit where that accumulates to about just under about 12,250,000. Then the months through May to September, we turn that into an operating income, which will top out at about 17.5 million. And then November and December, we lose money. And at the end of the year, if everything goes according to budget, we'd come in at about $9.1 million for the year. And so that's an overview of the projected budget for 2022. Courtney or myself, or even Bob Davis would be more than happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Okay, at this time, if anyone's got any questions, you can hit the raise your hand icon, or if you'd prefer to send it through the chat, you can do that as well.
So while we're waiting for any questions, the operating budget was based on, when it was put together, the approved operating schedule for the entire year for the Nantucket route and the approved schedule through the spring on the Vineyard route. And we were using the proposed
Budget.
operating schedule for summer and fall on the Vineyard route. That schedule being approved, we'll finalize that as the basis of what our the operating schedule is based on.
Just a couple of attendees in the audience, but we will stay through 10:30 as we had previously advertised. So if there's any other points you guys want to make, feel free. Otherwise, we'll keep the Zoom open in case anyone comes in late.
Looks like all three attendees were at last night's meeting, so I apologize for, basically it's the same presentation, no spoilers.
So to put some things in perspective for those in attendance, the increase of about $2 million in vessel fuel costs. We have about, our usage is about 3 million gallons a year. So that ends up being an average increase of 66 cents per gallon over the year. That cost, we do factor in the delivery costs, the price that we pay from Providence, as well as the hedging premiums that we buy to limit our exposure. And had we not done that, that number would actually have been higher because we have capped out our expenses on certain months.
Yeah. And as Courtney pointed out, you can see the wide range of pricing. That just shows you how volatile the oil has been in the last 12 months, and our hedge policy is hedging anywhere from 12 to 18 months.
Perhaps you could mention some of the maintenance projects that we're going to be undertaking. We have Oak Bluffs and Vineyard Haven theater repairs that will be worked on.
Sure. Yeah, so we have the Oak Bluff Pier work that we do every year, replacing the any boards that and decking that needs to be done. We have some work to be done on the Vineyard Haven Terminal for the fourth quarter. Some of the decking and pier there, which is cement over in Vineyard Haven. As Courtney mentioned, we have the HVAC unit replacement in Vineyard Haven. We have some slip repair work to be done in Hyannis next year on the fast ferry slips, the floating pier there that we have. So those are really the big highlights. The appreciation, we have the Woods Hole slip 1 coming online. Once that's completed for depreciation, and the other item that we're excited about is the electric buses coming online next year. We'll be starting to appreciate those as well, because those were capital projects.
John, there's also a Q&A feature on this, so if anyone has any questions, they can put in via that as well.
Yep, absolutely. Would take any questions through chat, or you can raise your hand. The Q&A.
The one thing we are closely monitoring is the traffic patterns. Last year we were, especially in the fall, we had a significant shift with COVID, where there was no gatherings for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So each month we're looking at how the changing travel patterns are affecting us and projecting out any changes we need, both for on the revenue side as well as the service side.
The other item that we should point out is that the training budget's been increased substantially.
Yep. So at the Port Council meeting earlier this week, Mark Reese from Fairhaven asked about the training. And in last year's budget, we had just over $460,000 in the training budget. This year, we're increasing that to over $770,000. And a lot of that's being driven with the SQMS program, the Safety Quality Management System. In addition to our annual trainings for things such as harassment, STCW, and things of that nature.
Bridge resource management, oil spill.
Yeah,
response training.
Open 90, correct?
Do life deployments on our MESs each year. To give firsthand experience to our crews on how to deploy those systems on our vessels, and how to, once they're deployed, and how to transition passengers to the rafts. They need to be certified on a schedule, and so as it is now, each year we have the opportunity to be able to use that, since the raft has to be taken off anyways for certification. We use that as a training exercise as well.
And another thing we're monitoring is the timing of the reservations. When we're seeing a trend this year that people booking further in advance than in the past, and it'll be interesting next year with the developments of COVID. Are we going to still see that trend? Or are we going to have it go back to a more normal reservation period as far as how far in advance the reservations are made? And that affects some of our cash flow and cash transfers to our special purpose funds.
Mike, I think your mic drop with the no rate increases.
Just scared everyone away.
From asking the questions. told you not to lead with that.
Like, don't poke the bear. The other area in the budget, I'd be remiss to not point out is that we've seen an increase in spending for next year is on the IT side for the infrastructure migrating to the cloud, as well as additional security measures, as you know, firewalls and things of that nature.
With regards to the vessel dry docks, a number of those vessels that was on that list. The requirement is only for them to be, those vessels to be dry docked twice in a 5-year period, but for, because those vessels are getting older, we feel it's more appropriate to be dry docking them on a every other year basis. It assists us in terms of budgeting when each year we essentially have 5 dry dockings because we have 10 vessels. So that spreads it out as well, and the availability of dry docks in the area is limited, so it assists in that area. But want to make sure that we have reliable vessels for service.
And a couple other things we're doing with this year's budget, the 2021 budget, we're ahead of what budget estimates are. And as previous years, we look to accelerate expenses from the following year to the current year. So with some of the maintenance expenses, we're accelerating projects like some of the pre-purchasing the wooden decking for the Oak Bluffs dock. Two benefits: that one, we can have it realized expense in the 2021 budget. Number two, we can have that inventory on hand as we're seeing slowness in the supply chain and delays. We can make sure we have these products on hand. Another area that we're accelerating expenses, and it should be coming at next month's board meeting, is pre-purchasing some of these engine parts for repairs and overhaul for next year. Well, again, the two major benefits is realizing expense in 2021, as well as making sure we have this inventory on hand when we need it, because who knows how far along the delays could be next year getting some of these things that we need. So we've been working very closely with Mark Munson and his staff about these type of items and what we can bring into 2021. And we expect these to be some of these items on the agenda in either the October or November board meetings.
Mark, maybe you could give people a little bit of an idea of the process of starting the budget, because even though this is when they're seeing it for the first time, you guys have been at it for quite a few months. So maybe you could give them a little behind the scenes of how you guys go about doing this process.
Sure. It really never stops, because we're always, whether it's when we prepare the monthly financial statements, that process is being used for next year's budget. And we're looking at things that we see change the shifts, taking notes of it. But really, we start the budget process as soon as we end the annual audit. So we've been working on this since April and May this year, putting it together. And some of it is that we're waiting for most recent data, both of expenses, what we're incurring, travel patterns, such as the traffic, maintenance patterns, where we're spending the money, looking at what the market's doing for oil prices, what the whole travel industry is doing, both in a regional area as well as, across the country and around the world, and how can that impact us. So that's how we start gathering the data. Then we run it, then we look at it, and then we talk to the department heads and start making any changes or anything that are these one-time expenses we don't expect to realize next year, or is this going to be an ongoing expense, or do we need to add things in like additional training that we have? So the budget is really, at the end of the year, after next month's meeting, it'll be an approved budget, but it's something that we don't stop working on.
And the capital budget is a separate process, just so everyone's aware, although it certainly feeds in, it's part of the overall process.
Correct. The capital budget is a separate budget that last year we came to the board, was actually in this year, it was late. It was because of COVID, because we really weren't sure where we'd be standing financially, but that was done in January. So this year we're expecting probably November to coming to the board with the preliminary capital budget or proposed. Yeah. And with this year's operating budget, a lot of these expenses we have to commit to months in advance. So last November and December, we met with Mark Munson and his team about, because with the uncertainty of COVID in November, December, not sure what our revenues and frankly, what our Head Start reservations were going to look like. So we had to make the commitment to postpone some of these maintenance projects that we could to the third and fourth quarter this year. So we'll start realizing some of these expenses that were originally slated for the first and second quarters in the third and fourth quarters of this year.
All right, well, we've got just a few minutes left. If anyone does have any questions, you can hit the raise your hand icon or send it through the chat. Monica? No.
Next week, we'll be proposing we'll be presenting any changes or suggestions or comments that we received at the meeting and not having any so far. So that'll be pretty easy. So next week at the Port Council, we'll be proposing basically in essence, the preliminary budget for approval. And then on October 19th, I believe is the date that will be coming to the board for final approval for the budget.
All right, well, I guess if there aren't any questions, if anyone, we'll post this on our YouTube channel. If anyone's watching this after the fact and has any questions, they could reach out. Mark, to you directly through email, or what's the best?
Yeah,
method
you
for
can
that?
reach out directly to me via email. That would be fine.
That's mrozum, ROZUM at steamshipauthority.com, or you can find it on the contact us page on our website. So it's rolling into 10:30. So Mark, Courtney, Bob, thank you. And thanks for everyone for watching.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Enjoy your weekend.